Hello, this is Gina, and I'm so excited to share with you. Oh my gosh, is this beautiful? I'm kind of crooked on the screen, but that's okay because I've got this phone propped up on the railing and it is not going to fall. So I'm going to share with you basically about building a strong business with a big family. But I didn't always have a big family. When I started off in Mary Kay, I had just my husband. I was a newlywed, and we lived in Arizona. He was in the Army, and I was a teacher. And so when I got started, it was in April, and we moved all the way from Arizona to Virginia just like a month and a half later. So I was a brand new consultant in Virginia and knew nobody. But one of the first things I did, very first things I did, was back then you could look up in the phone book sales directors in the area. And so I looked up the sales directors in the area, made a few phone calls, scared because I didn't know anyone or who these people were, found out where they met. I didn't know any of these locations, looked them up on maps or whatever, and showed up. I showed up to the meeting, not knowing anyone, and started going to my meetings the very first week I had moved to Virginia. And that's how I started. And so I'm going to kind of take you through the journey of building this business. And I thought the easiest way to do that would be to share with you what I did do and what I didn't do, because I think the things that I didn't do are just as important as the things that I did do. So I've been in the business for 16 years, I think now, and we still live in Virginia, and now I have 5 children. They are 15, 13, 10, 8, and 5 3/4. So I have 4 boys, and then our little one is a girl. She'll be 6 this Christmas. So it is a busy, busy life, and it's just been getting busier and busier since the very beginning. When I started in April, then we moved at the beginning of the summer to Virginia, and very soon, within a few months, found out I was pregnant with our first child. So basically, in this business, there was a very short time, I don't even know, just crazy, that there was no kids, or at least not one growing inside of me. But from the very beginning of building my business, the one thing that I can always remember, this is key number 1, is the word trust. I always trusted the mentors, whether it was the sales director at the meeting or things I was listening to on CD, or at that time cassette tapes. I always trusted. I trusted the company, that they had our best interests at heart. I trusted the sales directors. I trusted any of the communication that was coming out. It was never a critical eye. It was never a judgmental statement. It was always trust. I think that is very, very key, because there were times that I wasn't sure, like, really, but I chose trust, and I'm so glad I did. One of the other things that I always did was attend my meetings, right? I just told you that was one of the very first things I did. And I think from the very beginning, I understood that that was the best usage of my time, the absolute best usage of my time. Was it inconvenient? Every time. I think every time it was inconvenient to go to my meeting. When I had a full-time job, there was always things to grade, or, just something extracurricular that I was involved in with the school, something. There was always something that had to be worked around. And then, of course, once I had my first baby after that first year, always inconvenient. Always, guys. But guess what? Success is inconvenient. Success is inconvenient. But I understood in that hour and a half or so on average that the meeting was, that I would get so much more bang out of that hour and a half than I could in a week's worth time of exposure to education, exposure to inspiration, exposure to big thinkers, to people who supported me, to people who were smiling and laughing and having fun, to a place where I could bring guests to get treated to the products. And honestly, especially once I started having kids, just even the drive to and back was just me in the car. And oftentimes it was me in the car with silence. That was like the sanity break, honestly. And so always went to my meetings. Then events. That's also another thing that I did. I always went to events. Now talk about inconvenient, right? But I trusted that they said, show up to go up. And even when, at the very beginning where I was like, do I want to go up? I don't know, but they're saying to go to these events, so I do. Every single event, career conference, seminar, fall retreat, and January jumpstarts, I was there. Sometimes I was there nursing babies in the back. Sometimes I was there because I would have to drive 2 or 3 hours out of the way to drop them off with my parents and then drive back or whatever. I'm just telling you, inconvenient, right? Maybe because I had to pay a sitter to help, because in the early years of building my business, gosh, how many years was that? A lot. Half of it by now. 8. The first 8 years, I didn't even have any local family. So paying for sitters, right? That's inconvenient. But it was always worth it. Right? Okay, we're driving our 5th pink Cadillac right now. Oh my gosh, right? So there was a strong business growing that whole entire time. So going to meetings and going to events always did do. Now, you might be thinking, what in the world? Well, what are the things I didn't do? Okay, you ready? I didn't watch TV. It just boggles my mind when people, oh, I got to watch that every week. You know, that's my show that I watch every week. Guess what my show was that I watched every week? My meeting. Talk about like real life entertainment, right? Talk about like your time where you can just be like, oh, people say, oh, I just want to, oh my gosh, in front of the TV. I'm like, what a waste of time. I get to, and like enjoy that meeting, but get filled at the same time. It's so much more productive. I didn't listen to the radio. Don't listen to the radio. And you think, oh my gosh, music fills my soul. Well, music fills my soul too, but guess what I do? I would make CDs of the music that I wanted to hear. These are the only songs I want to hear. And I don't want to hear commercials in between, and I want to hear people talking about who knows what on talk shows. I'm going to listen to music that I want to listen to, or I'm going to listen to some Mary Kay training, and that's usually what it was. So I didn't listen to the radio, but that little exposure here in, here out, even if it was 15 minutes to the grocery store and I got another snippet of that CD, then I was listening, because you become like the people you expose yourself to. And exposure doesn't mean face to face. It could mean through your ears while you're in the car. I will tell you too, the new Cadillac, the 2017, does not have a CD player. And I mean, I have heart palpitations. I'm like, I've got hundreds of CDs. I've got tapes still in the basement, but I've got hundreds of CDs, and I feel like my friends are like across the ocean. Like, I can't talk to you. I can't listen to you. I got to figure this out. Okay. One of the things that I always did was enroll my customers in the preferred customer program. For 16 years, every quarter, my customers have gotten the lookbook without fail, because whether I was on it in my business and I was great with customer service phone calls and booking follow-up appointments and getting in the space of my customers, or the opposite, and I wasn't, because there's times like that too where I'm like, daggone, I haven't called that customer in a long time. But I knew they got the lookbook, and they knew I was still in business. That's one of the questions I still ask people if they have a consultant and, you know, they're like, they're kind of wishy-washy. I'm like, do you get a lookbook in the mail? Because to me, all consultants that are servicing their customers always get that lookbook to them in the mail. Keep them informed and let them know that you are still in business. Another thing that I always did was kept samples in my purse. Wherever I was, that sample was there and ready to give. Business cards, surveys, fill-out cards, whatever it was. There was something in my purse so I could have something in my hand to give to someone. Right? Did I always give it to 100% of the people in my space all the time? No. You know when I did? When my courage was bigger than my fear. I'd like to say that my courage was bigger than my fear every time, but it wasn't. But it was enough to build this business, right? One day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, over and over a time. And I'd like to say that my courage is still building, and it still will. All right. Another thing that I always did was go for Star Consultant. 16 years in the business, only missed Star Consultant once, and it was my second quarter. I didn't really understand. I didn't get it. But I never missed being a star. And I'm so thankful to my recruiter who taught that to me, not by saying you need to be a star every quarter, but what she said was, when I started with my 600 wholesale, she said, now Gina, all you have to do is, you've got that order, pay it off. You don't want to pay a credit card bill. Make sure you sell enough to pay that credit card, and then you just order 600 again. And then you make sure you sell enough to pay it off, and then you order 600 again. And that was her way of teaching me how to be a star without saying be a star. And I was a star every time. And at the beginning, it was because I was trying to build that inventory, and I needed that credit card. And now it's the opposite, right? I don't have to rush to try to pay a bill. Now I'm just ordering because the money's already there. One of the things that I also did, of course, I'm having all of these babies, right? So I'm nursing, and then I'm pregnant and nursing and pregnant and nursing. Seriously, we were on the 2-year plan with babies and the 2-year plan with cars. So I would be nursing during phone calls. Every now and then someone would be like, is that a baby in the background? Sure is. So I'd have my little headset on, and I would be nursing the baby. Everything was with the babies. Not everything. I didn't take them to the meetings and all that. But you know what? Talk about the inconvenient. There was a time where I had to take one of them to the meeting 30 minutes early before the meeting would start so that I could nurse him, and then Todd could meet me where the meeting place was because it was shorter for him to go from his work to the meeting and then home with the baby that was now full. Again, it was figure outable. I was always going to figure out a way. That was what I always did. Figure it out, Gina. Go to the meetings, enroll people in PCP, pay for the sitter, figure it out, because I trust everyone of what they're saying. I'll just finish really quick too with a couple of things that I don't do. I don't grocery shop, and I don't do laundry. I don't clean bathrooms. And from the very beginning, I decided what are the things that I don't want to do, and I slowly but surely implemented that. It didn't start off 100% of not doing those things, but that was always my goal of what are the things not to do. And you know what? I never broke records. That's something that I also didn't do. I wasn't a zoom, to the top person, because have you ever heard the expression zoom eek, where they zoom and then they eek and put on the brakes because it was too much. So I never zoomed. I never broke records. But what I also never did was quit. But here's the deal. Sometimes you can just not be doing nothing and then just not quit, but you're still kind of staying at nothing. What I never quit doing was quit growing, quit learning, quit trying, quit stretching for more, for better. I never quit learning. And so I didn't sweat the small stuff and just kept moving. And so those are the things that I did do. And I hope that that helps you today.